Raider.
Yeah.
Sick. So, yeah, I've forgotten how to start these, man, because I forgot we do this, but you know, we move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on. You got this. You got this.
No, yeah, I was just saying that since January we won the Club World Cup, became champions of the world, and then like hell basically froze over.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a really difficult winter as well.
Yeah.
Injuries, COVID.
In case you've been living under a rock for this long, Roman Abramovich has been sanctioned because of the ongoing tension in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, and his links to Vladimir Putin has inevitably meant that he's had to be sanctioned. It means that his assets have had to be frozen. It's meant that he's not able to operate as an owner of any of his entities, of any of his companies, basically outside Russia. Well, that's not true in the UK and the US and several other countries. But anyway, how this affects us is obviously Chelsea were brought into the fray, and we were basically suspended of operating as normal.
Yeah, that's right.
So, which has meant that we're not able to really. Well, firstly, there was talk about, how we would be able to travel. Would we be able to take buses or planes? What would our expenditure be? What would our operating license be? Would we be able to renew contracts? But the simple answer to all of that was no, because we weren't able to make any money. We weren't able to spend any money. And we were granted a license by the government to sort of fulfill these responsibilities as a club. And consequentially, we've now had to move on and look for a new buyer. So I'm just going to explain it very briefly. Once the club was put up for sale, there was interest mainly from America, a lot of American current sports owners of baseball franchises, basketball franchises. That was obviously met with people from Saudi, people from Korea, people from the UK, people from the US, and that got narrowed down to 3 people, which was Todd Boehly, Steve Pagliuca, and Martin Broughton, which included Josh Harris and David Blitzer, who are the current owners of Crystal Palace. Here we are today. I'm fast forwarding everything, and it's just been announced now that Todd Boehly has been elected or sort of voted by the Rain Group, which was a financial group or bank that was in charge of overlooking the sale, doing the fit and proper tests, and running background checks, all that kind of stuff. And it's just come out that he's been made the exclusive preferred bidder for Chelsea Football Club. What this means is he has exclusive rights to say whether or not he wants to go ahead with the sale. All other bidders have been put to the side. There's lots of twists and turns that we'll discuss, but I just wanted to know firstly, how do you feel about all of this? I'd appreciate a round of applause for that explanation. I thought that did fairly decently.
You know what? Props to you. It's been forever since we had our last podcast, and I think you did that quite well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, go for it.
Yeah, I want some harmony at our club more than anything. It's been so hectic this season. I felt so bad for the squad. Having to go through this, Thomas Tuchel having to go through this, and all the other, staff at our club as well. It must have been really, really difficult to have all of these different things going on, and to not let it affect you. That would be really difficult. So,
yeah. It's been go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just, as I was saying, yeah, I'm hoping that this deal, gets through soon, and then we can start to look at building a squad and building a plan for the future. Not just in terms of the squad, but I think even Stamford Bridge has the talks of being developed as well,
Yeah.
and other aspects of the club that we can look at. Yeah,
So
that's what I'm looking forward to.
so what we know so far is that the bid that all the buyers were expected to put up front would include finances for the immediate first team future, the women's team, the academy, stadium redevelopment, uh, the charity foundation, um, and just sort of, I think, running costs on a day-to-day basis or a month-to-month basis for the club. Um, we know that figure now is close to £4 billion, which is, I think, the highest or the most anyone's ever paid for a sporting franchise. So that's a bit of history that we've made there. Um, we know Todd Boehly is now like I said, the exclusive preferred bidder for the rights to Chelsea Football Club. He's obviously he's a major stakeholder in, I don't know if he's a major stakeholder, but he's a big stakeholder in the LA Dodgers, the women's basketball team in LA. And he's got a great sporting background in terms of he went to the Dodgers 10 years ago with Mark Walter, who is the CEO of the Guggenheim enterprise, the company. Who are financially backing the deal. I'm guessing there's also Clear Lake Capital, who's another sort of financial company involved. I think there's also backing from Goldman Sachs and a couple other financial companies. So the money's there. The money's, they're sort of backing it. Everything is financially viable. But from a fan's perspective, how do you feel about Todd Boehly? Have you read much about him? What are your immediate feelings about him?
I've only the only like when I only first heard about him when he became a contender when he put his bid in. So I haven't heard too much about his past, just what you've mentioned really, if anything. But I've seen that he's been at the I've heard that he's been at the games a lot more recently,
Yeah.
following the matches. So yeah, I can't say that I know too much about him other than what we've just discussed.
Yeah, so from my own reading, I know that Bodie is quite heavily involved in the actual way things are run at the LA Dodgers. LA Dodgers before that consortium came in were not a very high achieving franchise. They were good, but they were not great. And I think as soon as these guys came in, they made them basically a great franchise. They were sort of competing at the top. They were, making the playoffs. They've won, I think, one championship, World Series or whatever they call it. I'm not into baseball, unfortunately.
How much?
Um,
Sorry, just to
yeah.
quickly ask, how much involvement do you think he'll have with the day-to-day runnings of the squad? Or, the
Um,
performance that we have. Do
I
you think that
mean,
he'll be
all of
very
this.
invested?
Yeah, I think all of the information will come out in days to come. I think it's difficult to say exactly how things are going to go, considering that they actually haven't said how they see things running.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's a typical businessman. I don't think he's going to be involved hands on. I think he's going to be able to assemble the right team and have the right network to allow things to run. Sort of maybe the same way Roman had it. I think Roman was very hands on in the first few years in terms of he would have people working directly with him rather than under him. And I think as time went on, he realized that having someone like Marina Granovskaya and having more recently Petr Cech and Michael Emanalo, these are the sort of people that were able to run the club day to day. They were able to give him up to date information on where the club is at, and he could sort of take his responsibilities away from the actual running, which I think is a good thing. I don't necessarily think you need an owner that is hands on with everything.
Mhm.
I think certainly I think that this is a larger part of a larger conversation, but I think where we've lacked in the last few years is being able to really close the gap on Liverpool and City, and that is purely down to recruitment, making the right signings at the right time and renewing contracts. And I think we've gone wrong a lot of the times. As good as a few signings have been, I think we've been very wasteful. We've not really followed a model that is data driven, in terms of recruitment. So I think that's where he'll add value. I think he knows especially with the Dodgers. I think from what I've read, like the Dodgers are very stats and data driven. You know, their recruitment
Okay.
is stats and data. But the good thing about it is he's not afraid to spend money. So him and Mark Walter as well, and that whole investment group, which includes Magic Johnson, by the way, they are very much in favor of paying players in a sport where, you know, players move around really frequently. They like to keep hold of their best players and they like to recruit the best players and give them big contracts, which is great, which is exactly what we want. Um, you know, unfortunately, and this is part of a bigger conversation, we're going to lose Rudiger and Christensen for free, probably Aspilicueta for free. So maybe it's just come a bit late, but you know, I think there's massive value in what he brings, what his team brings. Having previous experience as well, I think it's a great sort of owner to have. But yeah, I think that's the way I see it.
Okay. Yeah, I think what you mentioned there about data driven, I think it will bode well for Thomas Tuchel as well. He's quite he's quite focused on the data as well and analytics of the game, isn't he?
Yeah,
Um,
it's going to be quite an interesting summer for us. I think a lot will need to happen in a very short space of time. There's a
mhm.
lot of things that are broken fundamentally in terms of the structure of the club, um, that will need to be put back together, or maybe a new model altogether. But um, we've seen two of I hate to say it so, you know, sort of because it's so recent and there might be a recency bias, but we could potentially be seeing two of the greatest Premier League sides in Premier League history. Um, as good as Man United and Chelsea were at their peak, you know, with Ferguson and Mourinho and all that, but I just don't see. I don't know. It's again, I feel like it's recency bias, but we've seen. Okay, so we're seeing the two greatest teams in Premier League history. Let's just put it that way. One club has followed the same model we have, where we have unlimited expenditure. We don't really care about the losses or, you know, flops, whatever. We can cover those easily because we have a rich owner. The other, which is Liverpool, so they've sort of followed a more statistical and data driven model where they sign players. They don't sign £100 million players. They don't sign £50 million players just for the sake of it. They sign players that they know will contribute towards the same game model that they play around. So, for example, Diego Jota, Luis Diaz, you know, even, you know, the Van Dijks and the Allisons. Those were more mainstream signings, but these are players that fit their team and Klopp's team to the point of, you know, you know that they're going to be contributing and they're going to sort of be value for money. Whereas City don't. I mean, they don't need to have a value for money signing. They can just sign Jack Grealish for 100 million if they want. Um, so I think that's where we'll have to sort of know exactly what type of club we're going to be. Naturally, you know, we're not being bought by a sheikh or by, you know, a high profile business person. We're being bought by essentially Clear Lake Capital, but with a controlling stake by, you know, that is led by Todd Boehly. So I think we'll adopt that same model as Liverpool. I think we'll look at more uh, logical signings and sort of financially sensible signings that will actually help the team and give Thomas Tuchel a platform to play the football that he wants and, you know, essentially win football games the way he wants to. That's how I think this will go.
Mhm. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be the opposite, or how do you see it?
No, I had the impression that we would be following a model similar to what Liverpool have at the moment.
Yeah,
As you mentioned, you know, these guys are happy to give big contracts, you know, spend a lot. So maybe we would still have, you know, some big signings, blockbuster signings. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see how is it with with the potentially the new owners. Yeah.
yeah. I think a big, probably the first thing I think Bowley needs to come in and do is just bring in a sporting director. I think that will solve a lot of problems that we've faced over the years in terms of recruitment and scouting and getting the right players in rather than getting the most expensive players in or the most glamorous names in.
Out of curiosity, do you think that if he were to pick a sporting director,
Yeah.
do you think it would be someone who's already present, within the football world, or would he bring someone outside
No,
of it, maybe related to the club that he already has a stake in?
I think he'll be able to use the resources that he has with the Dodgers in terms of the stats and data personnel that he has. But I think essentially if you're in football, you'll have a better idea of what is needed. And I think from what I've read previously, I think David Ornstein, he posted an article a couple of weeks ago. He said that Paul Mitchell, who is the current sporting director of RB Leipzig or Monaco, one of them, I think he's done one and then the other, or the other way around. They'd be interested in bringing him on board. So he's got a great reputation for scouting good talent, young talent, and turning them into superstars, basically. Then there's also Michael Edwards, who's apparently leaving Liverpool this summer. There's no word on where he'll be going or what he'll be doing, but he's another person I think has been phenomenal in terms of building a team with Klopp and bringing in the right players. I always think that managers have it difficult because essentially when a player flops, they put it on the manager. Now, most of the time, these managers are not really in charge of transfers. And if they were, they'd probably go insane because, to coach a team for 5 days of the week and then prepare them for a game, I really don't see where they have the time to scout players and look at, qualities and stuff. So for me, a sporting director is absolutely crucial at any club, and you need a top one. I think we're really crying out for one. I think, we have someone called Scott McLachlan, who's not been great, to be honest. To put it bluntly, he's not really been up to standard. He's not done the things maybe Emanalo was capable
What
of
about
doing.
the role of Petr Cech? Do you think that he could, just slot in there as a sporting director? Do you think that he could do that?
I think Cech is he's sort of an overall director. I don't think he's capable of being a sporting director per se. I don't think he's present at the club to be a sporting director. I think you need to have seriously deep knowledge of a player's ability and what they would contribute to your team, and sort of have the vision and have the instinct and have education on that field, because it's not as easy as saying, oh, that's a good player, sign him. He needs to, a sporting director has to represent value, and if they're given a budget of 100 million, 150 million, or even if they're given a budget of 10 million, they need to know that they're buying quality players at value, and it won't be wasteful. It won't be a bad signing. That there's always that pressure on them. And I just don't think Petr Cech is that person. I don't think he's been groomed to be that person. I think he's more of a link between the coach and the board, but not necessarily just on transfers. I think he will work with a sporting director. I don't think he will be the sporting director.
Okay.
So that's my understanding of it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this is all part of such a big conversation on where we are as a club, what we're doing. It's a chance for us to just sort of hit the reset, because I feel even without this whole situation with Roman, I think we needed a refresh. It became very, I don't know how to put it, but it didn't feel like we are joined, as a club. It didn't feel like the manager was joined with the same ambition or the same ideas as the board, and the board wasn't on board with so many other things. I don't know. With Chelsea, there's never a dull day, is there? There's always drama. There's always something to do with us, and it's never just about the football. But I think, yeah, I mean, what do you think of like Thomas Tuchel's position at the club? Like, there's been talk of like him potentially leaving if the new owners come in and say, we're not going to spend, or we're not interested in being high flyers and all this kind of stuff. Whatever's been happening in previous years, that stops now. What do you think of that?
No, I think not the thing that you said about not spend or not be high flyers. I don't think and that anyone would want to buy Chelsea and just have those ambitions. I think they would whoever wants to own Chelsea, they know that Chelsea aim to be at the very top.
Yeah.
But in terms of Thomas Tuchel, he's been very happy, prior to the whole drama that we've had in recent months. I think he's been very happy with with what the board have given him, with the relationship that he has as well with the rest of the staff, the squad in general, I'd say. So I don't think that he will want to leave. I think that he has a very good, very comfortable environment at Chelsea, which he can thrive on, because there's no issues, there's no bad blood, there's nothing that is there to to get him. He is there to fulfill his roles to the club, which I think is exactly what he wants. He's quite professional in that sense. He's always spoken about team, not individual performances. So I think he sees himself as a team player. Of course, in the managerial role.
So do you think there's any value in the new owners, or not in the new owners, for the new owners, if they don't continue to win trophies or continue to keep us at the top level of football? Do you think that I look at Arsenal, they've got American owners, they also own the LA Rams, but they sort of seem to be happy with being where they are. They're sort of financially they're doing okay. I mean, they're not really complaining about how much they're getting out of Arsenal. I'm sure they're financially benefiting from that situation. We know the Glazers have obviously caused a major sort of not divide among the fans. Maybe they're more united, so to speak, against the Glazers, because they complain of the amount of money that they sort of take out of the club every year. With American owners, generally is they're looking at debt funding and capital injection in terms of taking out loans and paying high interest or whatever, because they've got friends in banks and all this kind of stuff. They look at these franchises and say that we can financially benefit from this situation. Does that happen if we stop being an elite club, or if we stop winning trophies, if our value goes away from the silverware sort of model? Do you think there's any benefit for the owners in that situation? Can you see any reason for why they would not want to continue winning, is my question.
Right. Okay. So I think we bring in a lot of money with success. How far we get into the Champions League, winning trophies and all that. I think it does good for us more than anything. Winning the Club World Cup, for example. I don't see how not having the ambition to win trophies would bring more profits or anything, that would benefit the owners. You gave the examples of Arsenal and Liverpool. I would argue that
Arsenal
Liverpool's case,
not Liverpool, Man United.
Man United, all right. Who knows what's going on at Man United? They do spend. They spend on that. They spend on that club. They bring in people. They give high, wage contracts.
Yeah, I don't get the Man United one, because
I think it's just not. I think it's just not worked out for them.
Yeah, but that's not. I fail to see where the Glazers are to be blamed, because they're taking money out of the club, but they're also significantly spending a lot of money at United, and they're also putting people in. They're chopping and changing managers. They're trying everything possible to get the club successful again. So I don't really understand the argument there, although fans seem to be very passionate about that.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of there's something is not working out. So maybe they just need someone a bit higher up with a vision for the club to follow. But going back to the Arsenal case, I would argue that since Arteta has come, I've seen Arsenal grow and develop in as a squad. They've clearly got a bit more of a style of ambition, I'd say. They may not be, right up there. They don't have instant success.
Well, it's not like Arsenal haven't spent money. They have spent money, but they're
Yeah.
still significantly lower, or there's a significant gap between us and them.
So yeah, exactly. The fact that they spent money means that the owners are trying at least. And they've
Yeah,
brought in a
but
manager. They have
they've
brought
been
in a
at the
manager
club.
who.
No. Hold on. They've been at the club for a long time now. So if you compare that to what we've also got an American owner. We've also got an owner that owns a sporting franchise in the US, which demands a lot of financial injection. So I'm thinking, is our model going more towards United or Liverpool or Arsenal? Because with City, we know that City have got a unlimited. They've got a sort of unlimited expenditure.
Yeah.
But we have to be more strategic in terms of how we spend, on who we spend, and what rewards we get out of it. What's a realistic objective now? That's my question, sort of, about this whole thing. What's to say that these guys that are coming in, Todd Boehly and gang, what's to say that they won't use us as a sort of cash cow to supply payments to the LA Dodgers or to any other sporting franchise that they're interested? I mean, interestingly, Todd Boehly and Josh Harris, who's the owner of Crystal Palace, they were interested in buying the Denver Broncos, an NFL franchise. So there's another venture. There's another venture that they are looking to invest in, and that would also demand a lot of money. That would demand financial injection. And my worry is that the value that we're at and what we would demand, and our global, revenue, and just generally what we would, be able to generate, is that now going to go back to America? Is that where they're going to spend the money, or are they going to reinvest it in us? Ideally, that would be great if they, reinvest everything in us. But I just can't see that being a realistic possibility.
I think that with the claims about the amount that they'll be investing into Chelsea after the takeover, I think that it does give a sign of they want growth, at least with what the money will be used for as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'll never fully know until it happens, I guess. But I don't think that they have. I would imagine that they have like a winning mentality as well that they want to bring to Chelsea.
I think football clubs are a very lucrative business in the long term. I think if you're thinking about it in the short term, you're in the wrong business, because you're losing money as soon as you buy a football club. Where the real value is if you want to sell it, sort of 10, 15 years down the line, where you've grown the club, you've made it sustainable, so it runs itself. So essentially, you're not really investing your own money anymore. You're not putting up any capital, but you're raising the value. You're increasing the value of the club. And maybe in 10, 15 years, the club's worth £10 billion. And then someone else, wants to come in, and £10 billion is like £3-4 billion now. So, I mean, I'm trying to gauge exactly where we are going as a club. What is the ambition? What is the realistic objective? If we're not going to be free spending like before. But this is the thing again, like free spending with Abramovich over the last few years has not been great. We've not had like a top signing after all the money that we spent. For me, the last top signing we made was Kante. I don't think we've made a top signing since Kante. And obviously he was £30 million. I'm trying to gauge
a world class player.
Yeah, and he wasn't. I don't know if he was a world class player when he came to us, but that sort of player that is a game changer for us.
Do you mean, yeah? So, sorry, when you say top class, top signing, you mean like the impact that they have to the squad straight away?
Right, yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. Someone that takes your team to the next level.
Okay. Well, I think it was really. I feel like Timo Werner would have been that sort of signing. It's very unfortunate that it didn't, work out. I mean, he's managed to get a good run of form recently, but I think that was meant to be our top signing. The success that he was having in the Bundesliga.
We even signed Lukaku, right?
Yeah,
who was another. He was meant to be
who's
good,
world class and recognized as the top striker in the world.
but is that where we're going wrong? Are we going wrong by assuming that these people will come in and fit the system and get scoring immediately? Like, I feel like when Liverpool make a signing, it is such an impactful signing, and you already know that they're going to do well for some reason.
100%. They buy players that will fit their system straight away.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that's where we need to change. We should be focusing on what characteristics the players that we're scouting can bring to our squad that we desperately need.
Yeah.
I feel like Lukaku signing, it's a tricky one because he should be fitting in the system but
honestly, if we had the chance to do it again, I would have signed him again.
He was, he was recognized at that level that he was just immense.
Yeah.
He should have done really well this season. So it's unfortunate that he hasn't done well. I think same case with Timo Werner, except that I feel like he's more of a specific player where you have to play him in a certain way more than Lukaku. So I think that was more of an issue with us not recognizing his requirements as a player.
Yeah, I mean, saying that though, they've both Havertz and Werner, they've started to. I mean, again, we need to do so many more podcasts because so much to talk about. But even they're looking more comfortable now. They're looking, much better, much more confident on the ball, and they talked about issues that they had, like mental issues or issues with COVID, whatever. So we can't really rule them out as being flops just yet because I think they've done really well this season, especially.
Yeah, but I'm just referring to the impact that you've mentioned.
Yeah.
I think Kante being the last super impactful signing.
What I am definitely excited for is for a new approach to signing players, and I think.
Oh wait, I've got a good one. Ben Chilwell. I think he's been a top impact signing.
Yeah, but I think Chilwell is. He plays in a position where I think I get it. I get that we are much better with him in the squad, or with him in the team. But at 50 million, you would expect him to do well. So if he does well, it's not really a surprise.
Edouard Mendy.
Again, we need another podcast for this because I mean,
I don't
want to say it, but I might be off Mendy soon, man.
I might
be off Mendy soon.
It's a dip in form. But I think for what we needed, the state at which Kepa was, we needed a goalkeeper desperately.
We can talk about that on a different one for sure.
But I do think we've made some good impact signings in the last couple of years.
It's tough, man. I think when I compare it to what Liverpool have done, I think we're certainly behind. I think for them to sign Andy Robertson and I think Thiago Alcantara is coming through really well as well. Luis Diaz, Diego Jota, I think is a standout signing for them.
But they also took time. They took a few years to get running the way that they have now.
What I wanted to say was that they were all signed under the pretense of they fit the Klopp team, they fit the budget. They are. They are really a model of how a football club should be run. It should be exactly like that. They took a player like Coutinho, sold him for £140 million, and they reinvested it into Alisson and Van Dijk, and that transformed their team. And I'd love us to be that club because we've been self-sustaining and we've managed to turn profits and be in the green. But when it comes to recruitment, I just don't think we've been good enough. We've not, and that I think that is represented in how we finish every single season in the Premier League. We're always 15 to 20 points behind the top, So I think, when you have a free spending owner, I think there's a lot more room for error. But I think when you have like a Todd Boehly and, a capital group financially backing us, I think there's less of that. There's less room to make errors or to go wrong.
Right.
what I think is very key that we haven't really spoken on too much is Thomas Tuchel.
Okay.
I think if we're able to keep Thomas Tuchel and supply him with what he needs,
Yeah.
and remember, it's going to be a very, very tough window for us because we're going to need a couple of defenders at least.
Mhm.
I'm not ruling out a third defender. We're going to need wing back cover. We're going to need another midfielder because I don't think we have enough muscle in midfield. I don't think Kante is fit enough to last the whole season. I'd argue that we might need another attacking player because, we seem to not want us to finish games and to score enough goals. So these are all issues that we need to address. But at the same time, we've got loanees, we've got um, players from the academy that are sort of being promoted. So it's going to be a very, very tough summer. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. For some reason, I have optimism about how this is going to go. And
Okay. That's good.
yeah, I mean, how do you feel about like facing this summer? Like, how do you feel about the new owners from what you've read about them and their ways and stuff?
Yeah. I think it can go quite well. I'm just an optimistic person in that sense.
Mm.
But from what I've read about them and my impressions of them, I think it can. I think we'll finally find a bit of how do you say it? Synchronization between the different levels of the club.
Yeah.
And that's what I want more than anything, because I think that we can really develop. We can really develop if there's if there's an understanding between these different levels of the club.
Yeah.
And I do think that Thomas Tuchel has a future at this club, and I think that we should invest in his vision of what the squad should be and how they should play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, he's absolutely key. I think if you want to have any chance of success, that is above what we've been at, you want to keep a world-class manager, and he absolutely is. He's shown that he is. He knows that he's very confident in terms of being able to change systems and do things to win games. And in one-off games he's been spectacular. In the league he's been maybe a bit unlucky in terms of the players haven't really been able to finish games when they should have. So he's clearly a talented manager. He's underperforming on XG all the time. So for me, he's the cornerstone of everything that we need to be building around, and to oversee certain processes like the stadium development and recruitment, and making sure that there's a link between the academy and the first team. He seems to be the perfect man to oversee all of that.
I think the first request to ask the new owners is for the pitch to not be so bouncy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's terrible, and hopefully that's something with
Do you
the
think
development.
Sorry, I'm going to go a bit further away from what we've been discussing. But do you think that's a real issue? Because prior to, let's say, Sarri era, we were very much a counter-attacking team. So the smaller pitch would do better. Would be better for us.
I don't think our pitch is that small, actually.
No?
Yeah, I think when you do like the measurements and stuff, I don't think it's as small as we think it is. I think the camera angle, when we look at it, when we watch it at home or when we watch it in the ground, for some reason it just looks smaller. It looks tighter. Maybe because the fans are closer to the pitch or whatever. There's less distance between the fans and the pitch.
Mhm.
But I think just generally, I feel like it feels small because when we go to, I don't know, we were at Old Trafford on Thursday yesterday, and our football seemed to be so much more expansive, and we seem to have so much more space on the pitch than when we were at Stamford Bridge for some reason. And
yeah, I
maybe
agree completely.
maybe those extra few inches, that makes quite a world of a difference to these players, because it's such a expansive game now. It's such a quick game. The quality of the runs and the touches and the passing is so different to what it was, years ago. Like you said, maybe it was built to be a counter-attacking pitch. Who knows? But
yeah, because we did.
I think when we're developing the stadium again, which is going to be a serious conversation now, because they're actually, part of their bid is for the development. They're going to have to really reconsider laying out a new pitch altogether, with new dimensions, with new with better grass, because I think our pitch is one of the poorest in the Premier League as well. I think Leicester have a better pitch than us, so if we want to play good football, expansive football, and we want to these are small things, but I think they do matter in the long term. And you look at the best teams, they always seem to have the best pitches and the best grounds to play their football on. It's definitely going to be one of those things that we need to address, I think.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay. Interesting stuff.
I just wanted to add one more thing. I am absolutely gutted because this morning it was announced that Jim Ratcliffe, who's the owner, the CEO, whatever, of INEOS, which is a petrochemicals company, he lodged a $4.25 billion pound bid for Chelsea Football Club, and I am very, very disappointed that he's left it this late. For me, he would have been the absolute perfect owner for us, and he's expressed interest in us before. He's wanted to buy us before, and it was met with a fat no from Roman. But he had the opportunity now, and he's left it late. Maybe because he just didn't want to go through the whole process and being taken advantage of, or being in a bidding war. Even I just want to say that I'm really upset that he's not going to be our owner.
What do you think about him would make him the perfect owner for Chelsea?
I just think his background and his love for sports. He's an avid cycling fan, and INEOS sponsor Mercedes F1 team. They're involved in so many extreme sports as well. They sponsor a lot of boat sports, and he's just very involved in sports generally. But even football, he's been a Chelsea season ticket holder. It's public information that he's a Man United fan and he grew up in Greater Manchester. But he's very much a Londoner now. So, he's got a real affiliation with Chelsea. He's got a net worth, I think that's double of Roman Abramovich. That's his personal net worth. But also, obviously, INEOS is, huge, massive financial backing there. And that's his own company. It's all equity. It wouldn't be debt financed or any of that kind of stuff. It would come as an all equity bid, and he would fund the club from his own sort of finances, or his own stream of finances at least. I think overall, I think he's got a real great personality and a great demeanor about him, that he's so interested in sports. He reminds me a lot of Richard Branson. He's very passionate about anything that he does. He owns OGC Nice, which is a football club in France, and they've done phenomenally well. They've recruited really well, and they've got the right staff in, and the managers are all promising. They had Vieira, now they have Christophe Galtier. So they've built a really spectacular little club. It's impossible to go toe-to-toe with PSG. I think there's no value in going toe-to-toe with PSG. But overriding everything, he's also stats and data driven, and that makes all his sporting franchises and investments successful. And I think there was one line in the statement that they released today, when they announced that they were bidding for Chelsea. And I'm going to try not to butcher it, so I'm going to try and read it off But there is one line in that says, "We believe that London should have a club that reflects the stature of the city, one that is held in the same regard as Real Madrid, Barcelona, or Bayern Munich. We intend Chelsea to be that club." So I think that really hit home because of our association with London. We love this city, and we, want to feel close. We want our football club to feel closer to London, than it is right now. It feels very, I don't know, European. It doesn't feel that English or that much of a London club at the moment. So I don't know. I'm disappointed that he's left it this late. But yeah, that's my reason. That's my long-winded explanation as to why I wanted him as our owner.
No, he's been linked with the club for a long time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, I was happy with Todd Boehly before the news about Ratcliffe came in, but we can feel comfortable knowing that the process is going to be done soon, and Boehly will definitely come in and hopefully have a lot of successful years with us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's going to be a new Chelsea, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a great Chelsea, I think. And like I said, on another one, we can talk about exactly where they can improve and what they can do to, take us back to the very top where we were before.
Sounds fab.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? I think we covered everything with regards to the ownership.
Yeah. I think there are other things we could discuss, but we should save that for another video.
What, in 6
For
months?
another podcast.
In 6 months.
Sorry?
In 6 months. In 6 months' time.
In 6 months' time, yeah.
Perfect. I'll see you in 6 months then, yeah?
Yeah, see you then.
I swear to God, bro, if we don't do another one in 1 week, I will switch.
Oh no, there's I want to cover other things as well. I think I'd
It's
really
an
like
exciting
to cover
time, isn't it?
F1 as well. I think that'd be
feel
super fun.
exciting. Yeah, it feels exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, then we'll end it there. We'll call it there, and we will get back on it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So let's just. I mean, there's news dropping every single day, so there's something to talk about every single day.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for there to be like just not any drama or any.
It's all done soon.
Yeah, craziness.
It's gonna be all done soon. So
yeah,
maybe by the next time we do another podcast, it's all complete and we have a new owner, and we're going American. So we'll start calling it soccer.
Yeah.
Let's not. Okay, I'm not me neither. Yeah.
Christian Pulisic.
Boehly's Blues. Blue Boehly podcast.
Oh, man, I love that guy.
Okay. All right, nice one.
All right, take care.
Raider.
See ya.